This is my love of that 300-pound paper that has been, as I always say, they've been making it since 1250, and it's a magical surface. It's a surface that I can't resist with my acrylics, watercolors, inks, everything that goes on on this watercolor paper. This is what I'm working on right now, and I got the undercolors, and then many colors will get painted over, but the colors will come through. The important thing for me in this part of the process is that I'm locking together and have some anchor colors that will describe what the story is. And the story may be just about the color, it may be about the shape, it may be just about what's the kind of sadness of what's going on in our country. For me, this is the not even the middle step. This is in the beginnings of it. When I think that I have got to the finishing end of these, it feels like I'm finishing something, but I don't know where it's going after it's finished. How do you do something you can never really finish? You just keep doing it. And by keep doing it, I mean literally doing it, but doing it differently each time. And my love of drawing, which is, we'll get into later, is the backbone of them. It's no sensibility that the first thing I do is draw out the shapes, the composition, and then from that, I can start working. We're really looking at the beginning, the middle, and the end, but not in that order. I have no idea where this is going to go, but I have to keep looking and looking at it. It's easy to try to make something just to do it, and it's done. But I don't ever know when these are done, except they gotta tell me. I have to listen to the painting over and over again. I say that and I've said to my students for many years, you have to listen to the work. The work tells you, not you, the work does. Where this is gonna go will come from what it's telling me where it's going, not where I want it to go. Again, listen to the work. Listen to what the work is doing. What is the conversation in the colors? What's the composition in the drawing? What is making us as artists feel that we have some kind of control over what we do? The day we do that, the day it ends. And you end it by trying to control it. I guess it's like life. Or dogs. Okay, so these colors are not necessarily the colors that will show up later. The black acrylic ink, India ink, the F&W ink, and I just ordered another 2 boxes of them. Is the ink that I prefer over my old Higgins India ink. Let's take a look at the Bombay, India, colored India inks, called Bombay because it's India ink. Let's take this because this is thinner than the acrylic. I use it to sometimes make a line. That will reflect the color underneath. And sometimes I'll make it and the difference between the two is the color underneath and the white of the paper. That's important. This is a transparent ink, but it also, you could go over it with water afterwards. So I get 3 colors out of 1 color by going over other colors. Again, Bombay ink colored in the inks. And because at one time they didn't think it was possible that India ink had to be black, that we were limited to what we can do. Let's look over here. And see what's doing over here. I wanted something that was like a train moving or a subway and a fish. But then I took the fish out and had put the mask in. The mask, again, always the story. The mask is the story of the human spirit, as we talked about many times. But each one of these is the human spirit traveling over some kind of track. Don't know what the track is. Don't know except that it has this kind of inside track, and it's traveling above it, on it, and above it is a kind of a fish scales shape that I use a lot. You know, when you live next to the Pacific Ocean, it's right on literally on your doorsteps, you really are talking about the sea as well as the land. And for years when I taught outdoor painting, I did a lot of seascapes. because the sea is always with us, especially when you live here. After I did that one, I did this one. And this is a more chaotic and feeling the chaos of our times. And in a sense, going somewhere but nowhere, but on a dangerous track. But the conversations of the human dilemma is there as it is in a lot of my work. I'm not here to make what I used to make a social commentary as much as I'm talking about just pure feelings of the moment. Feelings that reflect the times we live in and the chaos that exists. So it can be chaotic at the same time the composition can be very much locked in. So there's a common thread, again, that common thread of running through it with the colors and the feelings and the black line. The black line is not an end in itself. It's just a fellow traveler in the painting. So the white, again, I'm still keeping the white of the paper because I love the paper as much as I love drawing on it. The paper, I think, could be just by itself. As I'm working on these series, I find myself more and more needing to explain less and less. And if I have to explain more and more, it will become less and less. Let's go back over to this one. And see, did I just see some things that I could possibly become part of my painting in this one? There's some colors that I will use, but not to repeat the color, but to have an association. And the gold and the golden acrylic, just as the gold of the color, is very important part of skin tones, and sometimes, but then I draw on top of it, and sometimes I add cooler tones kind of in the bearded area here, where the beard may show up, may not. Listen again, listen to the painting. And to the drawing. This drawing sits with me for a day or two before I start painting on it. That's how important the drawing is underneath these. Let's look at some drawings here in my sketchbooks. Using my favorite drawing equipment, my India ink felt tip pens by the Pit, Faber-Castell. I'm starting on this one, just the beginning, and I can see already that I want to do something else happen. Let that happen. Now, where this gets developed is the same way I developed the paintings. I got to listen to the drawing. Let's look at some of the ones in this book. There's a kind of pathos in this one, a sadness. And it's a pathos of humans, but pathos also of the shape. This one, I'll look many times at this, the heart, the human symbol of love and all, but that shape that seems to me to be very important on the canvas or the paper. The smaller lines are done with this Faber-Castell fine line pen or the Faber-Castell extra fine. This is a 06, so it's gone down from 0 to beyond and down to 6. That's the area in here. And here. This is a very heavy paper, and you can see that the ink doesn't come through the other side. And that's because of the India ink, but also the thickness of the paper. I sit in this chair and draw these. And for whatever reason, I only know by listening to the drawing again where I'm going to go with this. I don't start off with one idea. I like to break up the composition sometimes into a way that is not predictable. The worst thing you could be is predictable. If you know it's coming next, what's the point of being there? Again, the small pens and the big, starting off with the large pen. I always start with the large pen, so that helps me get what's happening. This is one of the I felt more successful ones, and it had a real variety in the lines and the textures of the lines. I could give a lot of talk about, well, this is in the brain or something up here, and down here is another part. But it's really about what's just the all happening, what's happening in the drawing, what's happening on the paper, in the drawing, on the paper. Some more simplified. For some reason, I seem to be going towards the center of this paper more than I may do in other times. But that's just where I'm at. I'm trying to center it in a sense that I'm trying to have some kind of, perhaps I'm trying to control it more, which is not a good idea. And this one we're working on now, you can see it's towards the center of the paper. What I don't want to have happen is the center to become an end in itself. The worst thing I can have is anything in my work becoming an end in itself. Being an end in itself kills off the piece and doesn't breathe. All these works have to breathe. They have to have a life of their own. They have to have a movement of their own. And the movement is not something that I'm going to always feel comfortable with, but it may fit the work. So it's fitting the work that's going ahead and letting a lot of it just happen. I don't know what I'm going to do here. I don't know what I'm going to do there. This looks like it's need maybe some small lines, some texture in here. Don't know. Let's throw the 06, make some texture here. Again, not being an end in itself, but just being a texture back there. Hair, or whatever you want to call it. Some people would think of it as hair. You have a fine line here. So I have it closer there and more open there. It felt that way. It felt that way as a clear, personal judgment and a feeling for what's happening in the piece. But again, not to be an end in itself, but to be part of the bigger picture, as we are part of that big picture called life and the earth and the planets and the solar system and beyond the beyond. The Ein Sof Hour that the Jewish Hebrew scholars called the Ein Sof Hour, the beyond the beyond. And never an end in itself. It just goes on and on and on. So in finishing up about this, it's the Ein Sof hour, beyond the beyond. And if all these paintings of this period were on a wall, they may be able to talk to each other, or they may not get along, but I think overall it would be a pretty solid show. Again, not making it any more than it is, not making it less than it is, just being what it is. Thank you.